that my sister and I often get from other CoolSculpting providers is, I have limited time, I have limited budget, I want to grow my CoolSculpting practice, I want to sell more CoolSculpting, where should I begin? And similarly, when someone calls your office and says, I have fat on my stomach or my arms, what is your staff's answer? When they say, how much does it cost? The answer is always, it depends, but it does depend on a few things. So I'm going to illustrate a few scenarios so you can understand why when we get those calls or those emails that we can't just say, oh, start with lead generation or lead conversion or marketing, because at the end of the day, you have to understand your full picture of where your business actually is so you can understand which components need work. So now let's lay out those scenarios. Let's say that you are a marketing machine. You're getting a ton of people to your website, you get a ton of people to call the office, but nobody books consults. Well, if I hear that, then my thought is maybe you need some front desk training. But on the other hand, if you get a ton of leads, a ton of calls, and a ton of consults to show up, but nobody's closing, you have a very different problem than in the first scenario. Or what if a ton of people aren't buying and your staff simply isn't following up? Or maybe it's a completely different scenario where you're literally not driving anybody to your website, or you are driving people to your website, but they don't take any action because your website isn't captivating, it's not engaging, it's not informative, and it doesn't give the visitor the opportunity to virtually raise their hand and say, guess what? I have an interest in CoolSculpting. That's really why our on-site training is so critical. We lay out lead generation, lead nurturing, lead conversion, and also client experience, because we have to look at that full picture, like I said, so you can understand exactly where your practice is, where you want to go, and what holes you need to plug in order to do that trajectory. It's Jess with Bodify Academy, and our sole intention is to make you, the CoolSculpting provider, more successful.